Channel 5 has given...
Monday, take a brand new look at the familiar.
Belfast stretches out behind me like a huge jigsaw of streets and houses.
The street director of Belfast reads like a history book.
Situated at the mouth of the Lagan Valley, it's a dramatic location for a city.
Sky High with Christine Blakely.
Sprawling out between the hills that lie to the east and the west.
Monday at 10:35 on BBC One.
I think she's actually quite trash.
Oh dear, Sam's really lost it.
This is shocking TV.
If you thought that was shocking, you should see what the team suggests.
What you're going to have is a house of strip listen.
Trust me, you do not want to miss this show. Would like to meet Wednesday at 8 on BBC Two.
You're watching BBC Two, Energize.
Good evening and welcome to Star Trek Night. Tonight we celebrate the longest running, most successful television programme ever, with a whole evening designed to entertain even the most untrekkie of fans. And we unveil an exclusive first look at the latest Star Trek series, Enterprise, due to be screened in America at the end of the month. Now, contrary to popular belief, you don't have to be a weirdo to admit to more than a basic knowledge of things Star Trek. Just look at me. Or maybe that's a bad example. But if your infatuation with the whole Trek phenomenon should happen to run a little deeper than most, well, promise not to tell. In tonight's Trek adventure, find out how Star Trek became big business in Enterprise to franchise, marvel at makeup in Make It So, enjoy the classic episode Trials and Tribulations, check out the plasma conduits in Warp Factory, savour the memorable moments with a selection of clip compilations, and for a grand finale, the feature film, Star Trek IV, Voyage Home. That's the one with the whales. But whilst we batten down the holodeck and polish our hailing frequencies, we'd like you to take part in tonight's viewers' vote. The 4 Star Trek captains have selected their favourite episodes, and it's up to you to vote for the one you want to see. The legendary Captain James T. Kirk, known in real life, sorry if that ruins it for you, as Bill Shatner, chose his favourite episode, City on the Edge of Forever. That's the one where Kirk gets to flirt with Joan Collins while Spock fiddles with their equipment. To vote for Captain James T. Kirk's choice, call 0900 144 7701. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, also known as that bald Shakespearean actor Patrick Stewart, chose an episode that he directed called In Theory.
They're lovely. Come in. Oh, I'm hoping.
Here we see Data, everyone's favourite android, getting the chance to experience more than just his extendable hard drive.
Commander Riker suggested this particular flower. He said it had worked for him in the past.
To vote for In Theory, call 0900 144 7702. Avery Brooks, as Captain Ben Sisko in Deep Space Nine, has chosen Far Beyond the Stars, an episode set in New York in the bad old days of the mid-20th century. For Far Beyond the Stars, call 0900 144 7703.
Personally, I don't see the attraction. Spaceships, flying saucers, men from Mars.
What's wrong with men from Mars?
Nothing, except it's all make-believe.
The favourite of Kate Mulgrew, otherwise known as That Woman at the Helm, Captain Janeway, is an episode called Counterpoint. Here, Captain Janeway gets the rare opportunity to do more than usual with her impulse engine. To vote for Counterpoint, call 0900 144 7704. Calls cost a maximum of 10p. Lines close at 9:15 and the winning episode will be shown at 9:55. You can also vote online at bbc.co.uk/Star Trek. It's easy to look back now and presume that Star Trek was always successful, but that wasn't actually the case. In the early years, Gene Roddenberry had to fight tooth and nail for the show's survival. But not even he could have predicted that 35 years later, it would have become the most successful television property in history. Next on Star Trek Night, From Enterprise to Franchise tells the story of a legend. There are only a few brands that are recognizable worldwide. There are even fewer that have lasted 35 years. In TV and film, nothing has stood the test of time as well as one colossus of a franchise.
Team on board for May's biggest event.
You'll pay for your deceit, chap!
I'd love to stay in chat, but I'm on a tight schedule.
Summer 2001 sees the finale to the fourth Star Trek series, Star Trek Voyager. After 7 years drifting through the Delta Quadrant, Captain Janeway will replicate her last black coffee and hang up her tricorder forever.
A 7 of 9 is going to die.
But even as the production was winding down, Paramount were unveiling their fifth Star Trek series. What a contrast to 1969, when the first ever Star Trek found itself rudely cancelled, with no plans to boldly go ever again. 4 series and 9 movies later, it seems the USS Enterprise has been renamed USS Franchise, a mission that will last to the end of time.
Star Trek has achieved what no other show has achieved in the sense that it now has a mythic quality to it. And I know that sounds horribly overstated, but the fact is it's gone 35 years. There's no other series that's really come close to that. And so you have maybe 3 or 4 generations of kids now who have grown up on Star Trek.
Make it so.
Captain, I'm picking up the alien signal again.
And action!
Red alert.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
There's probably nothing quite as evocative as the original series opening monologue, you know, the space, the final frontier. I mean, join us on the voyages of the starship Enterprise and to boldly go where no man has gone. I mean, it's, okay, I'm there, sign me up, you know. It's like, it's a call to adventure, and how can you resist that call?
Acknowledged.
And then once they've got you, then we can do all the other stuff. Then it can be, okay, let's examine some societal problems. Let's deal with racism. Let's look at war. Let's look at the nature of a man. Let's look at good versus evil. You know, once you've got them on the adventure, then you have an opportunity to do a lot of other kinds of storytelling.
A man tells another man, out of my way.
While everyone else was talking about war and the end of the world as we know it, the show's creator, Gene Roddenberry, took a completely different view about what lay ahead for humanity.
But all kinds of trouble come to an end when a man tells another man, be my
It was good versus bad, good wins. It was tomorrow will be a better, kinder, more gentle world. It was also very optimistic, everything about Star Trek. That's what's always made it so different from the other shows.
But it was Vol who put the fruit on the trees, caused the rain to fall. Vol cared for us.
You'll learn to care for yourselves with our help. And there's no trick to putting fruit on trees. You might even enjoy it.
It's a really decent, uplifting view of the future. There's no corruption. There's no Jeffrey Archers or Neil and Christine Hamiltons up there.
You learn to build for yourselves, think for yourselves, work for yourselves, and what you create is yours. That's what we call freedom. You'll like that, too, a lot.
They're really iconic characters, and what you have is Captain Kirk, a man who's driven, you know, he is an emotional man who's intelligent, basically. And he's got his two kind of demons. Mr. Spock, who is completely logical.
You a splendid example of reciprocity. It would take a computerized Vulcan mind such as yours to make that kind of a statement.
And the doctor who comes in whenever he's doing something goes, "Damn it, Jim, don't you see that we've got to save them?" And he's like, so he's torn between these two people, and he makes a middle path. But those three characters are the basis for the whole show.
Whatever you choose to call it, this system works, despite your emotional reaction to it. It might work for you, Mr. Spock, but it doesn't work for me.
It was an interracial crew, which was something that was very, very unusual at the time. It had the first, certainly television's first interracial kiss, and possibly film's first interracial kiss.
Gene put messages all over those shows, and the adults didn't understand it. The censors didn't understand it at all. The kids did.
And I said, and I discovered something. You're writing morality plays. And he said, shh, they haven't figured it out yet.
No. They're less a genuine futuristic view of society than they really are a specific reflection of American society at those times. I think if you want to know what people in the 60s hoped for the future, what they thought the future might be like, and how they sort of projected themselves into that future, you look at the original series. It's the new frontier. It's bringing democracy to the universe. Captain Kirk is the American ideal of a captain who goes out and solves people's problems and, you know, and is a good man, you know, and is a hero for our time.
Jim, if you stand, you could start to bleed again.
Sarek will die without that operation. And you can't operate without transfusions from Spock. I'll convince Spock I'm all right. And order him to report here. As soon as he leaves the bridge, I'll turn command over to Scotty and report to my quarters.
Captain Kirk was always slightly odd. I think as you get older, his full oddness becomes apparent, those strange, slightly halting ways of talking he's got.
You can't operate without transfusions from Spock.
And I think even at that time, I thought he's slightly sinister, much more sinister than the aliens. Fights people with karate chops in a kind of portly James Bond style. If Bond had kind of let himself go a little bit.
If only Star Trek had managed to break out of the cult audience. But with low ratings and over-wordy scripts, baffled studio bosses axed the program after 3 series. For 8 years, Star Trek drifted endlessly through reruns. And that's how it would have stayed if another hotshot director hadn't then come along and made a film with Star in the title.
In a sense, George Lucas saved Star Trek. Lucas shot Star Wars in roughly 1976. The film was released in 77. It was an absolute smash hit. And so all of a sudden there was an impetus. There was a reason for studio executives to stop and say, okay, what else do we have that might actually mimic the success of a Star Wars?
An unfilmed and unloved TV script was now hastily revamped as a Star Trek feature film. The old crew were brought out of retirement, emotionally reunited with each other and with their faithful ship. Their mission? To make Paramount a bucket of money at the box office.
Spock, did we just see the beginning of a new life form?
Yes, Captain. We witnessed a birth. Possibly a next step in our evolution.
It was the first time we were making Star Trek in something like 11 years, and the sense was Stanley Kubrick made a very important film called 2001. If you want to be important, you got to be serious and do it very ponderously, which we did. And it wasn't a heck of a lot of fun.
Well, it's been a long time since I delivered a baby. And I hope we got this one off to a good start.
I hope so, too. I think we gave it the ability to create its own sense of purpose out of our own human weaknesses.
And a lot of foolish human emotions right now.
Exposed on the big screen, what probably wasn't that apparent on the small screen, although most people probably knew, which was that several of the actors in the show were not the best actors. But at the same time, they held sort of a camp appeal as well.
Report 2 casualties. Lieutenant Ilea. Captain Decker.
It really was regarded as a pretty lousy story, but everybody wanted to see this old crew reunited, and the film did huge box office. So if you're judging by dollars, it was a hugely successful film. That may have been the moment that Star Trek went from cult audience to mass audience. I think the studio knew that they had a product here that they could not only make a lot of money off of, but they just had a huge built-in fan base. And anytime you have that, you have a certain amount of guarantee that, you know, the movie will at least not tank. It may not do as well as other films, but it will not tank.
The gamble had paid off. By the time The Wrath of Khan was released in 1982, it was an even bigger hit than the first film. It was darker, it was more exciting, and it proved there was real mileage to Star Trek. And so began a series of spin-off films which always left the audience wanting more. It was only a matter of time before the studio started to think the unthinkable. Could they reverse the ship and head back into the black hole of television? By 1986, the old cast had to be replaced with younger talent, but this time the Enterprise could be bigger, sleeker and glossier. Roddenberry insisted that yet again the crew would be like a family, living on board the mothership with a father figure captain. But who would he be?
My wife and I were taking a course at UCLA on humor in the arts. Tonight's lecture was to be a reading. Patrick Stewart strode on stage and he began to speak.
Space, the final frontier.
And it was an electric moment. And I turned to my wife and I said, I think we found our captain.
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
We had a very good pilot script, which laid the foundations for all of the characters, particularly for Picard, very, very clearly and very strongly. There were defining characteristics of the man in that pilot episode.
I'm not a family man, Riker, and yet Starfleet has given me a ship with children aboard.
Yes, sir.
And I don't feel comfortable with children. But since a captain needs an image of geniality, you're to see that's what I project.
Aye, sir. Roddenberry had created quite a complex and at times mysterious character, guarded, cautious, careful in showing his feelings.
Full scan.
Inconclusive, Captain.
Sir, I'm sensing a presence on the planet. I wasn't aware of the Star Trek phenomena. It was totally new to me. It was... To be honest, when I was cast in the job, I was just happy to get a job.
Imagine, right, you know, if you're a Beatles fan in the 60s, and there's rumours that they're going to put the Beatles together again in the 80s, and it won't be any of the original John, Paul, Ringo, George and Bert, but it'll still be the Beatles. That's exactly what happened with Star Trek. For a lot of people, they found it hard to accept.
We were being scrutinized so closely, especially by the press, and by the fans, who were really not happy about there being a new show at all. They were quite happy watching their reruns of the original Star Trek and were quite miffed that we were trying to replace their idols.
Some problem, Riker?
Just hoping this isn't the usual way our missions will go, sir.
Oh, no, number one. I'm sure most will be much more interesting. Let's see what's out there. Engage.
That series had
certain things about it that were a century beyond the original series.
Tea, Earl Grey, hot.
The ship was far more advanced and far more comfortable. We had families on the ship. We had kids on the ship.
There's a low-gravity gymnasium, too. It'd be hard to get bored on this ship.
Feline supplement 74.
You could make a very strong argument that Next Generation was emblematic of the late 80s in the United States. So as a result, you know, you have a plush starship with carpeting and only the finest of computer technology on there, and everything was as good as it could possibly be. And so you had situations where, you know, you have an enemy ship off the bow of the Enterprise, and rather than arming the torpedoes, Captain Picard is calling a conference, and he's inviting everyone in the conference room, and they sit around and discuss it, and you're kind of wondering, well, what are these aliens doing all this time? You know, it's a very different attitude. It's a very different approach to it.
Mr. Data.
The strategy is built on a single premise, the hostile intent of the Romulans. If the premise is sound, so is the proposal.
I find the second series a little bit namby-pamby. You know, it was just infected with political correctness. The way, you know, I just like the broadness of the original show, and people would fist fight, and like Captain Kirk would go, well, if they don't like it, we'll bomb them into the Stone Age, you know, and you go like, okay, it was reflecting the America of the time.
And they have a therapist on the bridge, for Christ's sakes. I mean, that is the most, like, only in the 1980s would they have put a therapist on the bridge next to the captain.
I'm sensing a powerful mind.
Something strange on this detector circuit.
There were interesting challenges about suspending one's disbelief when talking to aliens or scenes with people on the view screen and so forth. I mean, during the course of the 7 years, I played scenes with an oil slick.
I want to see my people in the shuttle.
Talking to piles of tar, talking to people with rubber on their heads, spikes coming out of their ears.
It's nice to have you here, Ensign.
What's that hum? Played a scene with a grain of rice. Yes, you laugh away. I know, but it was part of our job, and it had to be made as you know, as convincing as possible.
I mean, of course, there are episodes where, for me, I was just standing around saying,
I sense deliberate concealment, sir.
But even then, actually, they were challenging, because Patrick Stewart would say things like, well, we know that, you stupid cow.
I sense the weight of this duty on you, Captain.
One of the reasons that I signed on was that I was assured that the 6-year contract that I was signing was meaningless, that the series would do 1, perhaps 2 years at the most, because nobody expected it to be successful.
Next Generation really took off about the time when The Best of Both Worlds aired. That was the first episode in which you had the humans facing off against the Borg. And it really clicked. It was well done. You had great special effects, a great script. You had tension, you had drama. You had one of the best cliffhangers that they've ever had on television.
I am Locutus of Borg. Resistance is futile.
That was really the episode that just absolutely got people talking about it, especially since you had part 1 was a season ender, and so suddenly you had people talking about it for 2 or 3 months as, you know, what's going to happen to Captain Picard. He's been assimilated by the Borg.
From this time forward, you will service us.
When the Next Generation was on week to week, and you had a product that you could basically plug year-round, year in and year out, all of a sudden, Star Trek was everywhere and gave them a continuous product. I think that's when Paramount really started to realize they had something that they could truly market here. It was something that could be long-term, and it was actually a franchise.
Star Trek Next Generation was syndicated in over 100 countries, translated into a dozen languages, and made $500 million for Paramount. It even made an unlikely international sex symbol out of its leading man. The juggernaut was now at full speed, and the studio refused to put on the brakes.
Well, Next Generation was in its beginning of its 4th season, and it was doing
remarkably well. And Paramount thought it would be great to get another series going. And they thought it would be great to try to overlap them, which they did with Deep Space Nine.
They didn't want to have two shows on the air at the same time. They were both about a ship. And because you would quickly cannibalize the same storylines, and the difference between the two shows would be what? And so I think they made a bold and ultimately the correct choice, which is to do something completely different. Let's set it on a space station. Let's take a whole different approach to what it means to be a Star Trek series. The space station doesn't go anywhere, and that means the storylines continue week after week. It just meant a change that gradually, bit by bit, became more of a continuing story. You couldn't just leave problems behind you and fly away from them.
Roddenberry created a type of human that had very little conflict with other humans. So when it came to Deep Space Nine, we thought, how can we create conflict without breaking Gene's rules? And what we came up with was, let's put our people into a very inhospitable environment. The Cardassian space station that's kind of spooky and uncomfortable and things don't work quite right. And let's also add a lot of non-humans. We had Cardassians, we had Bajorans, we had Ferengi, we had Odo, who was a shapeshifter. We had a lot of non-humans that could help us create a little conflict on the show.
Deep Space Nine was a station, fixed at a point in space. Their mission was to boldly stay where they were and hope that something interesting came to visit them.
Odo. Hello.
Major.
Anything interesting happened while I was gone?
Interesting? No, nothing at all. As a matter of fact, it's been rather dull.
Star Trek has always been about exploration. Deep Space Nine was not. It was about a political dispute, basically. And you could really argue that they could just as easily have done this show about a bus station just outside of Kosovo.
Do you really expect a Bajoran station under Federation command to turn over Cardassian political refugees on your say-so?
The ultimate decision is, of course, yours. I am simply relaying a message.
Then relay this. Tell the Central Command, if anyone attempts to take Hogue and Raquelin by force, I will respond in kind. Am I clear, Mr. Garrick?
The sets were very dark. The themes were sometimes very dark. The plots were dark. And I think people struggled maybe wanting to see this show week in and week out, even though it was very well written.
When we started with The Next Generation in 1987, there was virtually no science fiction on television in the United States, none. Within 4 or 5 years, there were literally dozens of science fiction shows on the air. So when Deep Space Nine came around, it was not only competing with all of those shows, but it was also competing with The Next Generation. We had a movie, the film Star Trek Generations, and then we had Voyager starting all at the same time. And it was getting a little close to overkill.
But the studio had no such concerns. Out came the replicator, and the endlessly versatile Roddenberry formula was reshaped once again.
What we came up with was the show which had 3 unique elements to it. One was that the ship was facing in the wrong direction, in a sense. Rather than heading out to the stars, it was trying to head back toward Earth. We had a group called the Maquis, who were sort of freedom fighter band. They were outlaws in a way, and all the Maquis are brought aboard our ship, and there's conflict now between the Maquis and the regular Starfleet. And then thirdly, we had a woman as the captain.
Engage.
The young male demographic has always been the target demographic for Star Trek. The men aging 15 to about 25 or 30, a very tough market to appeal to. And you then introduce a middle-aged woman. And they would have to make a very difficult, both creative and philosophical adjustment to find that appealing. Come in. Gentlemen, welcome aboard Voyager.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Kim. At ease before you sprain something.
Voyager's early ratings were disappointing. Against a slew of TV competition, the scriptwriters realized they needed to do more than reshuffle the pack of cards. They had to add something new. It may have been the 24th century, but for a 20th century young male, some things never change.
In my opinion, Voyager didn't really ignite till we put the Borg in it.
I speak for the Borg.
That's really when people said, okay, here's a big, fat, exciting action show. Now I see what Voyager can do.
7 of 9, tertiary adjunctive Unimatrix 01. But you may call me 7 of 9.
Well, what was great in my mind was that she was a Data or Spock-like character, but in that she had the innocence. But she was also deeply corrupt. She was a mass murderer as well.
You wish to see me, Ensign?
I hope you weren't regenerating.
I was not.
This is tricky stuff. They could use your touch. Your way of looking at things, a fresh perspective.
No data.
Why don't you sit down?
I prefer to stand.
You'd be more comfortable.
Comfort is irrelevant. We're here to work.
They were bringing in the logical automaton into the crew. That she happened to have a body like that inside a piece of corsetry like that was neither here nor there, I'm sure.
I've noticed your attempts to engage me in idle conversation. And I see the way your pupils dilate when you look at my body.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you in love with me, Ensign?
Well, no.
Then you wish to copulate?
No!
Certainly I know with 7th edition, she was widely embraced by the demographic.
Star Trek has gone from a real cowboy approach to handling things. The Captain Kirk, very physical guy, and it's gradually changed over the years to Picard, negotiating quite a bit more.
Conference.
And then on to Voyager, where there's very much a sense that high-tech is our solution.
Barely enough for life support, Captain.
Harry, the radiogenic particles in the atmosphere. Could we use them as a power source?
Well, we'd have to modify the warp core's conversion matrix. It could take hours.
What if we drew the particles directly into our plasma manifold?
That would give us one hell of a boost. Make it also blow out every power relay on the ship.
Damned if we do, damned if we don't.
This is Captain Picard of the Enterprise.
By the time the 8th Star Trek film, First Contact, was in production in 1996, the new director and writers were themselves the kids who had grown up on Star Trek. And instead of Star Wars, they were now competing with films like Independence Day and Alien 3.
I felt when I was given First Contact that I had been given sort of the keys to the car and that it was my job not to crash it. And that's sort of how it feels with the franchise, because it is what it is. It is certainly Paramount's biggest franchise, arguably one of the biggest franchises in the business. So your job as a director is sort of not to screw it up. It's hard to do that and do stuff that's brand new and interesting. So that's where the challenge really comes.
Action.
One more time.
With a 10th feature film on the way and the new 5th series in production, the Star Trek franchise is now bigger than the Federation itself.
There seems to be a continuing desire for it, and so long as that desire is there, the studio are going to feed it. It is, after all, and we all have to be absolutely clear about this, an enormous source of income.
In a spectacularly innovative move that Roddenberry himself would have been proud of, the current custodians have decided to throw the Star Trek chronology into reverse.
Well, the new show takes place about 100 years before Captain Kirk, and it's really about the first crew aboard the first starship, which is called Enterprise. So the story of this show is really a story of humanity's first steps into the stars.
The Gene Roddenberry characters of the 23rd and 24th century, who were these sort of perfect, well-adjusted, better form of mankind, the characters that we are introducing in Enterprise in our new series are almost all the way there, but not quite. They're sort of a combination between the Roddenberry perfection and you and me.
Gene Roddenberry crossed the final frontier in 1991. But if he were still here today, what would he think of his Star Trek legacy?
When Gene died, I said, wouldn't it be great if we could bury him in space? And that word just got around and people started to talk about it. And one day they came and said, would you like to send Gene's ashes up? And I said, wow, yeah, of course I would. I got to send a little vial of Gene's ashes up. You watched it on TV, the launch. He's up there now going around every 90 minutes looking down saying, what have you done to my show?
Since we have the whole evening to indulge all our Star Trek cravings, let's savour the things that make it so special. Is there anything more peculiar in the galaxy than a Star Trek convention, for example? But first, we kick off tonight's selection of sidebar events with a warning. First rule of Star Trek. Never wear a red top, and if you do, don't come crying to me when you get shot early in the episode.
A Klingon! Grant, no! That way! I never saw anything like...
Complete survey of the planet using all ships available in... What happened?
We lost Matthews. Apparently an accident. Kirk out.
Strange clouds are... Clouds.
Do you have any answers? No, you've got everything I can tell you, but when there is nothing, what do you want me to say?
Take a fan, any fan, add another 2 or 3, then multiply by 35 years, and what have you got? A convention, that's what, this time in sunny Blackpool.
Welcome aboard, Voyager.
Thank you, sir.
Watch your face, let me go, problem. Do all that you can. Keep me daydream. Keep me going strong. You don't want to save me. Sad is the song.
Oh, what a lovely thing.
Things you don't understand, and you stop suspicion its way. Very superstitious, nothing more to say. Very superstitious, the devil's on his way. First thing myself, baby, take a look in base. 7 years of bad luck. The things in your past. And you believe in things that you don't understand, and you suffer. For us to shine into ways. No, no, no.
Part of Star Trek's charm is that it's unmistakable. From the utterly unforgettable design of the ship to all those rubber aliens and the occasionally cheesy special effects, you always know when you're in Star Trek land. Tonight, we go behind the scenes to check out the reality of dressing up space.
Make it so.
When we started the makeup this morning, history wasn't a subject.
It's not like it hurts or anything.
It's just that you can't touch your face.
You're much more attractive than the average girl.
It's a corset. It was the era of the miniskirt. Everybody wore a miniskirt.
I will tell you this. When we negotiate our contracts, Paramount's company line is that the ship is, in fact, the star of the show.
For 35 television years and millions of light years, the Federation Starfleet have been roaming through space in ships that, in design terms, have changed very little from the mother of all starships, USS Enterprise NCC 1701. Yes, even in space you need a license number.
Almost any design they would have chosen would have become the, the institutional vision. And even if you didn't like it initially, you'd grow accustomed to it and then expect it and then feel cheated if you didn't have it.
whatever we came up with had to be instantly recognizable. And to sell the speed, it would probably have to start in the distance as a tiny speck of light and enlarge and come right by your head or go the other way. So in that couple of seconds, you had to be able to recognize it. I spent a lot of money on old Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon comic books. And I pinned all of it up on the board and said, that I will not do. No pins or rockets. Kind of began to fence me in a little bit. I needed fencing at that point.
She was a ship based on the reality of a Navy ship, with all the Navy's very familiar rules, regulations and sections. Bridge, engineering, port and starboard, and of course, a captain and his crew.
The captain, USS Enterprise, from Starfleet, Sector 9. Inauguration ceremonies, Altair 6, have been advanced 7 solar days.
In this forward-thinking universe, a starship without an alien officer would be as adventurous as boiled cabbage. But back in the days when glue was really glue and rubber was something harvested from a tree, it all started with 2 tiny appendages. And even they were a hard graft.
What do you call those? I call them ears. You're trying to be funny.
It's a painful process. Not putting the ears on, not gluing them on, but getting them unglued is very painful, and Leonard's ears hurt him all the time. And so he came to me and said, Bob, can we do something about those ears? I said, I know what we can do. I've got a surgeon friend who can operate and make your ears pointy, and you'll have that for the length of the series. Leonard wanted this to happen so badly. He wanted so much so that he believed me for a few seconds.
Be watchful of young men in their velvet prime, leaving bitter dregs. Ah, bitter dregs.
The one thing they didn't have on the original series was time, and they didn't have a lot of money. We still don't have a lot of time and a lot of money, but we've learned how to budget it quicker. I actually have a laboratory here on the lot at Paramount where we build, manufacture, paint, and put it all together. The old series, Fred literally made things at home. He made Spock's ears at home in the kitchen. With me, it's easy. So it was all established. It's a matter of sculpting up the new ears, pouring the rubber, and they just slip right over the actor's ears, blend it off on the edges, and away you go.
4 series in, and the population of Star Trek extraterrestrials has exploded. Klingons, Cardassians, Bajorans, Borg, Ferengi, to name but a few, all with an unquenchable appetite for rubber. Nowadays, it's the exception rather than the rule for an actor to find themselves without so much as a nose job.
I would say 99% of the actors do not have a problem with rubber. It's all part of what they signed on to do, so they knew that they had to do that coming in. The rubber really doesn't get hot. It doesn't get uncomfortable. What it does do, it makes you have to come in at 4 o'clock in the morning for makeup, and it means when everybody else has gone home, you're still sitting here getting it taken off. So it does mean a lot of time in the makeup chair.
I'm the urban spaceman, baby.
Here come the blender.
I've got everything I need. I'm the urban spaceman, baby. I'm a supersonic guy.
Borg makeup was very tough. It was very tough. It's, you know, a whole rubber head and neck and the first part of your chest, and your ears are covered. There's a laser over one eye. There's, you know, other rubber glued to your head and different places where tubes come in and out, and airbrush everywhere. It took 5 hours the first day that we did the makeup. They got it down to 2.5 or 3 eventually. But it's tough. And after, you know, working an 18-hour day, and then you have to sit in the chair and look for another hour and a half to get out of the makeup when everyone else is going home, that's when it really becomes tough.
Oh, God.
Was that good for you?
The first whole day that I spent in the ball suit started very early. I guess I left home at 2 o'clock in the morning and got to my little trailer 8 hours later, and I said to the first assistant director, I have to go to the bathroom. 45 minutes later, they got me back into my suit, which was the most expensive pee in the history of Star Trek. An entire crew had been waiting for me. And later in the day, Mike Westmore said to me, you know, I once made a bright pink, skin-tight latex suit for an actress that we had to roll onto her. And we solved the bathroom problem by making slits in the soles of her suit, and she stood on a drain and peed in the suit. We could do the same for you. And I said, no, thank you, I just won't drink anything. And so I didn't.
We two are on a quest to better ourselves, evolving toward a state of perfection.
Forgive me. The Borg do not evolve. They conquer.
By assimilating other beings into our collective, we are bringing them closer to perfection.
Somehow, I question your motives.
That is because you haven't been properly stimulated yet.
Behind every alien is a background alien, and Quark's bar, the social hub of Deep Space Nine, required a few regulars.
One of the original 9 heads, new heads that we designed for Deep Space Nine, it was a character called Morn, and when he walked in and the director looked at him and said, I want that one, put him at the bar, and he sat at the bar for the next 7 years.
Evening. Hello, Morn.
We called him Morn, almost like Norm on Cheers. And the same man played it for the entire 7 years. The funny part was the scripts would come out and there would be lines for him. And then by the time we got done shooting it, the lines were gone. So he never spoke in the 7 years.
Well, no, I don't want to hear it. Not one word.
Decking out the non-humans was one thing, but what about the costumes for everyone else? What would 23rd century women wear? The costume designer from the original series, Bill Tice, had one theory. 23rd century women would wear anything, so long as it looked like it might, just might, fall off.
Oiling my traps, darling.
And if you were a female crew member, the final frontier was about 3 inches below the waist.
It's really for the best kept.
I thought the costumes were very appropriate for the time because it was the era of the miniskirt. And I thought it was that Bill Tice did a pretty good job except for the ruffles around the guy's pants. Didn't like the ruffles around the guy's pants. It amazes me that people still make some remark about the revealing, being revealing. They revealed nothing. Long black stockings on and boots up to my knees, and the skirts and panties on, and a skirt that gave you freedom to move in. And so what?
I guess we weren't sufficiently entertaining.
What we inherited from the original show was, of course, my cosmic cheerleader outfit in the very first episode. It was, can we get Marina's skirt any shorter than this? Fortunately, they decided that outfit didn't suit my character, and we lost it by the second episode. I was thrilled when I got my regulation Starfleet uniform, or the regulation spacesuit, as we call it, because first of all, it covered up my cleavage, and consequently, I got all my brains back, because when you have a cleavage, you can't have brains in Hollywood. So I got all my brains back, and I was allowed to do things that I hadn't been allowed to do for 5 or 6 years. I went on away teams, I was in charge of stuff, I had my pips back, I had phasers, I had all the equipment again, and it was fabulous. Yeah, I was thrilled.
the only good thing about the show coming to an end after 7 years, that I was finally able to breathe out. Because those costumes were really tight. You know, you had a grateful luncheon, it showed. And I watched the episodes now, and I can see, you know, the ones where I had gained 2 or 3 pounds, or when I'd lost 2 or 3 pounds. It's mortifying. It's absolutely mortifying. My hat goes off to Joey Ryan, I have to say, because she manages to maintain this perfect silhouette, and unfortunately I didn't.
I have allocated 3 hours, 20 minutes for the task, and an additional 17 minutes for Ensign Kim's usual conversational digressions. I am scheduled to take a nutritional supplement at 1,500 hours, engage in 1 hour of cardiovascular activity. Then I intend to review a text the doctor recommended entitled A Christmas Carol. He believes it will have educational value. End log.
It looks very simple. It looks just like a unitard. But it really was a feat of engineering on Bob Blackman's part to design this costume. There's a corset, one-piece undergarment, which, you know, had a very cinched-in waist, and it's a corset. It's constricting, and it's not comfortable.
It needed to be more than just a catsuit. It seemed as if we were pandering to the audience, which we were, but we need to have a way that I could, Jerry could, we could also to walk around and go, well, yeah, it's a fit garment, but what do you see? You just see her silhouette, which was what I wanted to do. That was my notion, which is we find a way to contour her quite remarkable body. We did, parenthetically, we did nothing to either minimize or extend her bodily shape. That is her from top to bottom, and it's a remarkable figure. When you see her in that uniform, one of the things that you get that is a sense of provocative is that the bust is actually undercut. You go under, rather than going from the high point down, it actually scoops under and then comes back to her rib cage. And that's a series of hooks that, you know, the whole thing is rigged to this underpinning. And God bless her to go for 4 years wearing that thing.
If it's a great character, of course I'd be willing to do that. You do whatever it takes to play a wonderful, rich role as an actor. And the overt sexiness of the costume I had no problem with. I had no problem with because of the way the character was written. If she was written the way everybody sort of thought she was going to be when they saw pictures of her initially, then yeah, I would have had a big problem playing that character. That was not something I had any interest in doing. But she was brilliant. She's a brilliant character. She was strong. She was a wonderful role model.
I didn't realize you had such a strong scientific curiosity.
Not curiosity. Desire.
Desire.
Omega is infinitely complex, yet harmonious. To the Borg, it represents perfection. I wish to understand that perfection.
The Borg's holy grail.
Captain.
Never mind. I'll see you in an hour. I loved my costume. From day one, I loved it. I mean, I'm an odd duck because I don't like glamour. I don't like being touched and fussed with. Can't bear it. I love to act. This other bit missed me somehow. So shucking myself into that suit every day was an absolute pleasure. Really was. They could have done something a little more enhancing with the suit for those of us with figures like 14-year-old boys. But the sheer delight of its ease. It was compact. It was simple, streamlined. Loved it. Loved it. But you could nap in it with heaven.
The magnetic field is collapsing. The hull is depolarizing.
But for the first female captain of a Starfleet starship, life wasn't quite as uncomplicated as it might otherwise seem.
Emergency force fields inoperative. Everybody else, go, go, go!
I love to see how men deal with their deepest anxieties, right? About will this franchise succeed or will it not with this woman at the helm.
Illogical.
They were so concerned that they had actually hired a woman to play the role that they couldn't quite get to it on a real level. So they targeted the symbol, which was the hair. Let's find something that we can all busy ourselves with to such distraction that we go mad. It was the hair. They changed it 5 times in the first season. 2, 3 times in the second. My message to Patrick Stewart is, lucky devil. I mean, it was just constantly a source of anxiety for them. And of course, it had nothing to do with the reality. I should have just left it alone.
He may be bald and a man, but Patrick Stewart didn't have it all easy either.
The costumes were redesigned after the first or second season, and we were taken out of the spandex and put into wool. And one of the reasons was that we were all of us beginning to suffer sort of skeletal problems from the pressures of the spandex. The suits we wore were actually made a couple of sizes too small so that they would be very, very form-fitting. But what they did was to put pressure like this on you everywhere, so you were continually having to push against the pressure of the spandex. I was told by my chiropractor that if I didn't get out of this costume, I would do permanent lasting damage to my body. So we told this to the studio, and that was all they needed to redesign the costumes. And then we got sensible two-piece costumes that moved with you instead of costumes that you had to fight on a daily basis.
Status of shields. Back to 48%, Captain. Mr. Forge, I may have to take us out of the nebula. I want all the power you can give me.
We must be upwind from the Antigons.
Of course, sir.
The annals of Star Trek are awash with the weird and the wonderful, but it's not just about costume and makeup. The third dimension of Star Trek magic is visual effects, making space a place, often with little more than tuppence halfpenny and a bag of string.
Guess what you can do with this? This is the material for a Mylar cheerleader's pom-pom, and I stumbled upon this in a dry goods store, and this was in just about every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation and many episodes of the subsequent series. One of its greatest uses is this is the Federation force field. And by shaking it and having a 45-degree angle mirror underneath so you can see its kind of random patterns, it gives a wonderful non-repetitive organic sparkle. By putting this on with a black sweatsuit and a little black hood over my face and being able to see the original scenes with the actors, I was able to, using Tai Chi motions, just kind of float this thing around, and in compositing, doing a very soft, out-of-focus version for a glow, and then a more in-focus, hotter core, and it worked out very well, and I could do all the animation in a morning rather than over a period of weeks.
I need an emergency medical team down here.
On our way, Captain.
The transporter effect, of course, one of our most famous effects on Star Trek, was originally basically created by a person taking little tiny bits of aluminum foil and I think some aluminum perchlorate, which is sort of a powdery version of aluminum, and then just sprinkling them and letting them fall through the air against a black piece of cardboard, illuminating that from the side with a very bright light, and then photographing that. And when the characters were filmed walking into the transporter, they would step on the pads. Captain Kirk would give the order to energize. The actors would then step off. But in the lab, after the film was developed, they would superimpose the actors fading out and this fluttering aluminum, fading in. And that's what created the transporter. It was a very simple, practical, optical effect.
Are you all right? All right.
Over 35 years, technology has, of course, improved. In particular, computer-generated imagery, CGI, has helped Starfleet go where no one has gone before.
I had one sequence that was all about effects, and that, of course, was her astounding entry, the very first time one saw her. And that was not actually green screen. What they did was that they used a motor control camera head. What happened was that I was put in a little cradle that was lashed to a crane, and I was horizontal, and they had stuck the prosthetic neck and that metallic spine to me here. So I was horizontal and the neck hung down. And they took me 30 feet up in the air and they brought me down slowly and deposited me on a little X. Oh, I was wrapped in blue screen cloth. And then I and the crane and the blue screen cloth were removed, and they reshot it on the empty set, or the set as it was without us in it. And then they married those two images together in the computer. And likewise for the moment where her her head locks into her torso and she walks over to Data.
I am the beginning, the end, the one who is many. I am the Borg.
But no matter how high or low-tech the visual effects, they would all count for nothing if it were not for that little extra, without which Star Trek just wouldn't be Star Trek.
Cisco to Defiant. Cisco to Defiant.
Voyager, beam us out of here.
And although sound in space doesn't actually happen, a silent photon torpedo fight just wouldn't, well, it just wouldn't.
Photon torpedoes, fire!
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
You Earth people are most unusual, most stimulating.
Do you feel the need for speed?
This is the best in Northern Ireland short-circuit racing.
Well, don't miss one heck of a ride.
Rudder leads and David Jeffries in second.
The Sunflower Trophy races return to Kirkiston for the third consecutive year.
Oh, that's brilliant racing. Jeffries is off. Oh, Jeffries is off.
This year's meeting for the first time includes the final rounds of the 125, 600 and Open Series. The highlights, Monday from 11:20 on BBC Two.
Sally is Susan's best friend. She's completely off limits. You have seen into the very heart of the Forbidden Lands. You must never speak of what you saw.
I'll tell her lies.
She'll know. The prickles, the blurts,
No way is this.
and the headlock.
Okay, what's wrong?
Coupling, tomorrow at 10 on BBC Two.
There's a time and a place for comedy. Save it for Mondays.
Welcome back to the 24th century, and here's a quick reminder of the rest of tonight's Trekkery. Still to come in tonight's Trek Adventure, more fan films and classic clip compilations. Check out the plasma conduits in Warp Factory. Discover which episode has won the viewer's vote, and as a final treat, watch the feature film Star Trek IV, Voyage Home, the one with the whales. And if you haven't voted yet, here's what to do. The 4 Star Trek captains have selected their favourite episodes, and it's up to you to vote for the one you want to see. The legendary Captain James T. Kirk, known in real life, sorry if that ruins it for you, as Bill Shatner, chose his favourite episode, City on the Edge of Forever. That's the one where Kirk gets to flirt with Joan Collins while Spock fiddles with their equipment. To vote for Captain James T. Kirk's choice, call 0900 144 7701. Captain Jean-Luc Picard, also known as that bald Shakespearean actor Patrick Stewart, chose an episode that he directed called In Theory.
They're lovely. Come in. Oh, I'm hoping.
Here we see Data, everyone's favourite android, getting the chance to experience more than just his extendable hard drive.
Commander Riker suggested this particular flower. He said it had worked for him in the past.
To vote for In Theory, call 0900 144 7702. Avery Brooks as Captain Ben Sisko in Deep Space Nine has chosen Far Beyond the Stars, an episode set in New York in the bad old days of the mid-20th century. For Far Beyond the Stars, call 0900 144 7703.
Personally, I don't see the attraction.
spaceships, flying saucers, men from Mars.
What's wrong with Men from Mars?
Nothing, except it's all make-believe.
The favourite of Kate Mulgrew, otherwise known as That Woman at the Helm, Captain Janeway, is an episode called Counterpoint. Here, Captain Janeway gets the rare opportunity to do more than usual with her impulse engines. To vote for Counterpoint, call 0900 144 7704. Calls cost a maximum of 10p. Lines close at 9:15 and the winning episode will be shown at 9:55. You can also vote online at bbc.co.uk/Star Trek. But first, this is a tribble, a pesky ball of fur that procreates faster than a rabbit on Viagra. The tribble entry in the Star Trek Encyclopedia, if there really is such a thing, explains that the Klingons consider tribbles to be an ecological menace, a plague to be wiped out. In the latter part of the 23rd century, hundreds of Klingon warriors were sent to track them down throughout the galaxy. An armada obliterated the tribble homeworld, and by the end of the 23rd century, tribbles were believed to be eradicated. The extinction of the tribbles was reversed in the year 2373, when some live specimens were transported from the past aboard Starship Defiant to Deep Space Nine. It's all true. Watch this.
Now on BBC Two, we have the technology.
Science is one of the real pleasures of Star Trek. The inventions and the technology are as popular as any of the characters. The concepts of warp speed and wormholes as familiar and believable as Spock and Dr. McCoy. But did you ever wonder what exactly a micro-infusion initiator was, or how the idea of the transporter was born? Well, pay attention. Here comes the science bit. And look out for the first ever sneak preview of the latest Star Trek series, Enterprise.
Engage!
Captain, I'm picking up the alien signal again.
There would be no Star Trek unless there were transporter malfunctions.
I'm locked on. Energizing.
McCoy with his diagnostic tool. You know, he would diagnose it. Well, he's strange, Jim. He's not human. And you go, okay. And you would accept that completely because it is all make-believe. It's all fun.
As a small boy, the idea of getting to look at space, which is beyond the grainy footage that NASA had thrown out of the moon landings in the late 60s and early 70s, was absolutely fabulous.
Star Trek has spent 35 years enthralling us with its visions of the future, the longest-running, most influential space series the world has ever seen. It was TV producer Gene Roddenberry's inspired idea to set a series in deep space, rather than in a hospital or police precinct. With mid-60s America fired up by the space program, what could be hotter than hanging out with the scientists who are going to make it all happen and picking their brains?
He realized that if he's going to go into science fiction, and if he's going to go into the future, and if he's going to travel with stars, he's going to need some scientific credibility and authenticity.
He did enlist the help of real experts. You know, he talked to the United States Air Force about the design for the Enterprise. That's a pretty good stamp of authority, isn't it?
Caltech's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the oldest continuous rocket and missile activity in the Western world, was the first in the field with a guided ballistic missile.
He spoke to a number of scientists and engineers, for example, at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, which is the NASA facility that does all of the unmanned probes to the planets. He spoke extensively with some scientists at the RAND Corporation. The RAND Corporation is a think tank here in Santa Monica that did a lot of work for the Air Force after World War II.
As a result of this high-powered advice, Roddenberry discovered that the best science fiction is the fiction with the best science. Of course, most of what he invented was simply devices to get the story moving. Problem 1. How do you get the Enterprise to fly fast enough to cover the vast distances to other planets?
Most misunderstood was the public's perception of the vast distances between stars and the great difficulty it would ever be for our species of humanity to ever reach a condition where we could travel from one star to another.
Answer: invent a new type of velocity.
Warp factor 2.
He called this new invention warp speed.
They just needed an excuse for them to be able to travel, 8 million light years in a day to go to this other planet, and I think someone mapped out all the planets they went to, and it would have been taken, about 8 million years to go to all these planets. So it's nice to add a little. It was just an excuse to be able to travel quickly.
He simply transferred the idea of Mach speed, the speed of sound, to warp speed, the speed of light. So everyone knows warp 10's faster than warp 8, and warp 5's faster than warp 1.
We almost work on the assumption that at some point there will be warp drives, that we will be able to move faster than the speed of light. There's no proof that we ever will, but we adore that idea.
They tried to apply those scientific procedures in physics, and you soon come a cropper. I came a cropper trying to apply O-level physics, which of course is the most dull subject imaginable. And you'd try and say, what about warp drive, sir? And the board rubber would catch you a glancing blow on the temple. There's no such thing as warp drive.
And imagine how different life would have been for these Star Trek actors if he hadn't invented an artificial gravity device.
There was artificial gravity aboard the ship, and that no matter what happened, no matter what other disaster befell them, the ship could be poked, full of holes from enemy fire and on fire, emitting smoke, and yet everyone remained glued to the deck and had no problems walking about.
In the battle between scientific limits and the need for drama, the drama won every time. No scientist is as ingenious as a TV producer with a low budget. Shuttlecraft and spacesuits too expensive? Fine, Roddenberry thought. No problem. I'll just beam them down.
Not beaming down. Yes, I am, Dr. McCoy.
We didn't have money. We had $168,000 to make each episode. Now it runs $2 million. So he wanted to even then, let's take the saucer off. Well, it proved too expensive in special effects to take the saucer off. So he said, I need something simpler.
Energize.
We could afford to beam them down, and that's what we had to do. It was much better to find another way to get down to a planet and keep the ship up in the air.
But the ideas didn't stop there. In the 23rd century, lasers became phasers.
Kirk here.
Communicators predated mobile phones with wrist whip action.
There is one piece of Star Trek kit that I always wanted as a kid, and happily, science has caught up with it.
Enterprise from Kirk.
Although, why they did it like this bit I never really understood. I think it makes a lot more sense to do it that way.
Scout around with your tricorders. Find the source of that power.
The handheld tricorder made wooey noises at anything you could find in the galaxy.
It was a 60s thing. Everything was covered in this sort of nice black vinyl, just like cassette recorders were at the time,
I loved classic 23rd century design.
And the ship naturally came equipped with two-way video phones.
Captain to bridge.
Spock here.
Any signs of life?
Negative.
Space. A final frontier.
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange...
But a lot had happened in the 20 years that separated Roddenberry's original series from his new one, Star Trek The Next Generation.
To boldly go where no one has gone before.
Audiences were much more demanding. The moon landing was ancient history, and the original Enterprise looked as dated as HMS Victory. Thanks to an explosion of new sciences, to Stephen Hawking, string theory, the Hubble telescope, quantum mechanics, chaos theory, space too had become much more complicated. It was full not only of planets, but of singularities, event horizons, wormholes and exotic particles. It wasn't just a big black void with stars in it, but a space-time continuum, endlessly tearing and folding in on itself. First order of the day, the new Enterprise needed a complete scientific refit.
You couldn't really get away with as much as you could in the original series, and you had to be smarter, you had to be more sophisticated. The audiences knew what the space shuttle was, and they had seen pictures from Mars, and then, you know, when the original series was on, we hadn't even landed on the moon yet, so the audience was just faster, and you had to keep up with them.
All systems report secured for warp factor.
Sulu, proceed on course for Mach 3 at space normal speed.
At the heart of the original series was some brilliant and self-explanatory science speak.
I'm scanning all frequencies.
We just lost warp maneuvering power. Switching to impulse. Something heading in at multi-warp speeds.
But in the 80s, when even the instructions for a video recorder came groaning with jargon, Star Trek scriptwriters had a new prime directive.
Yeah.
Bury the viewer in science.
How big is a quantum filament?
Well, it could be hundreds of meters long, but it has almost no mass, which makes it very difficult to detect.
So, it's like a cosmic string?
No.
Just keeping up, I try to read on the order of 10 or 12 different science journals, either on the internet or in print per week, just sort of skimming through them, seeing what's going on, what are the new ideas, and looking for terminology, for technical language. How are people describing different aspects of research? What are the new terms that are showing up in cosmology or in planetary geology that could be fun to interject into a Star Trek script?
Their recipe for perfect 24th century techno-babble was easy. Take a bunch of words, array, subspace, replicate, diagnostic, quantum, initiator, subroutine, singularity, fusion, quadrant, protocol, space-time continuum, and scramble them in any order you like. Voila, the perfect Star Trek jargon omelette.
We've got a problem. The quantum resonance of the filament caused a polarity shift in the antimatter containment field.
When the filament hit us, the ship was momentarily charged, as if it had come in contact with a live electrical wire.
That weakened the containment field surrounding the antimatter pods. The field strength is at 40% and it is still falling.
If it falls to 15%, the field will collapse. We'll have a containment breach.
Which means?
Which means the ship will explode.
I really relied upon somebody else to sort of help me through superstring theory and, you know, what kind of particle wave could hit the Enterprise? Well, particles don't fly in space, Ron. You know, you need a subspace, this and that. Oh, okay, that's cool. And so I kind of would know the dramatic idea of what I needed to accomplish, and then I needed someone like Andre to kind of get me with the language and something that sounded neat.
When the first draft of the script comes out, I'll read it over and make sure that the descriptions are reasonably accurate and fix any language that needs to be fixed.
We love to listen to this, but what is it actually like to have to learn it?
The actors have a lot of fun with the technobabble. Different actors over the years have had to use it more than others. LeVar Burton, as an engineer, had to very often give speeches with just a huge amount of technical stuff.
The phase inducers are connected to the emitter array. The override is completely gone, and the pattern buffer has been locked into a continuous diagnostic cycle.
This doesn't make any sense. It really didn't mean much to me, because I'm not an engineer. I just played one on TV.
There was one episode where I suddenly was the expert on Romulan technology because I'd been kidnapped by the Romulans. And there was an away team, and I went down, and I had a line like, "That's impossible, sir. No, hang on. That's impossible, sir. The Romulans used an artificial quantum singularity as their power source." The Romulans used an artificial quantum singularity as their power source. I think it's probably the only technical line I've really ever had to say. I remember it still because it took me 3 weeks to learn it, you know.
The methodology that I found most successful was to really spit it out as fast as I possibly could, giving the illusion that I knew what I was talking about.
Locking it into a diagnostic cycle so that the pattern wouldn't degrade and then cross-connecting it with the phase inducers to provide a regenerative power source. That's absolutely brilliant.
One of my proudest moments was the first time I heard Patrick Stewart say something that I'd put into his dialogue, which was the term fusion initiator.
He stayed up all night, refitting the fusion initiators.
I have no idea how much he enjoyed saying that.
I just remember how, when I used to turn over a page of a new script and see that I got a speech about dilithium crystals or some kind of communication my spirits used to sink.
What if we modified the main deflector to emit an inverse tachyon pulse that might be able to scan beyond the subspace barrier? That might give us some idea of what the interior of this thing looks like.
That is a most intriguing idea, sir.
There was actually a time I learned this from an old stand-up comic, a musical comic in England, who told me that one of the things that all stand-up comics used to do was to write their lines on the insides of their fingers, like this, because the audience, that's the part the audience never see. So you can do this, or you can do this, or whatever, and you can just read these things. And several times, some of that stuff I actually wrote on the inside of my fingers, and I read it, in other words, simply because I couldn't remember it.
I never did that. The technobabble was overwhelming. It's as if you gave me 30 pages of Japanese and said, you've got till tomorrow. Thank God I'm a quick study.
Gravimetric flux density is over 2,000%. If I'm not mistaken, we're looking at a type 4 quantum singularity.
It was absolute BS. I mean, I was simply acting in the beginning. Who could understand that terminology? I was at sea, but I punched through, imagining that I was speaking a foreign language.
So, we'd be looking for a subspace instability in the event horizon. What would make it show up on our sensors? Warp particles. If we saturate the event
I was the worst. I am absolutely the worst at that stuff. And I think they realized it early on because they stopped writing very complex, you know, fake science language for me.
How could we have been seeing a reflection of something we hadn't even done yet? Am I making any sense here?
No, but that's okay.
But it also was part of my character. My character was the one when everybody else would say it's the blah, 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 and I'd say, okay, so we're going to blow up, right?
I think it's human being some uncanny, you know, bullshit technobabble meter, you know, inside. You can tell when it's, you know, when it's good technobabble or just, you know, just babble.
With such a smart audience, the Star Trek producers were under close scrutiny.
I'm locked on. Energizing.
And for those paying attention, there was obviously a problem with the idea of the transporter system.
There was this annoying little law of physics called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And basically what that says is that you can never simultaneously know the position and the momentum of a subatomic particle as accurately as you would like to. The better you know the position, the less well you know the momentum, and vice versa. If somebody's going to take me apart atom by atom, I hope that they're going to put me back together in exactly the same way. And that not only means the positions of those atoms, but how they were moving when they were disassembled, because otherwise you're going to be scrambled pretty quickly.
There's no margin for error. One atom out of place and poof, you never come back.
So how to get around Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? Mike Okuda, in a Next Generation episode, coined the term Heisenberg compensator.
I'll run a scan on the Heisenberg compensators.
Oh, no, Chief, you've done enough already.
It's no problem. Why don't you give me a hand?
And all the physicists in the audience loved that. We got a lot of very fun, positive mail from people saying, oh, that's so funny. So yeah, you guys do appreciate the fact that the uncertainty principle would be a real problem for the transporter.
Transporting really is the safest way to travel.
And occasionally people would ask Mike, so how does the Heisenberg compensator work? And he would say, well, very well, thank you.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
And for goodness sake, there's always been a problem with the concept of warp speed.
Suggesting that we can go from, you know, 500 kilometers per hour to 186,000 miles per second in the space of, you know, 2 seconds would mean that every single atom in your body under that kind of acceleration will be slammed against the wall.
Probably hundreds of thousands of G-forces would be involved in that kind of acceleration. by comparison, an astronaut maybe experiences 3 Gs, 3 times the force of gravity. If you were to just be accelerated at 100 or 1,000 Gs, you'd be crushed like a bug.
Engage.
So how does our crew survive the jump to warp? Well, we coined the term inertial damper.
Report, Mr. LaForge. Checking for failure of inertia dampeners.
The inertial dampers basically allow us to nullify the effects of acceleration.
Reset dampeners, Mr. LaForge. Dampeners not responding.
Whether it's when we're jumping to warp.
Inertia dampeners are on manual. They may not fully compensate for the acceleration, so brace yourself.
Or if the ship is being rattled by an ion storm. The inertial dampers basically take the edge off of those kinds of accelerations. And how do they work? Well, we have no idea.
Okay, I'm going to try reversing the osmotic pressure on this deck.
Not only do science and technology get the crew out of trouble, but the writers make full use of the fact that most things quite often break down, malfunction,
The main computer core is failing. Switching to backup processor.
or go offline.
Shielded weapons are offline.
This is meant to be the most advanced that humanity has ever got. Yet whenever they're hit by a photon torpedo of some kind, the consoles explode in a flash of smoke and flame. Now, why is this? If any car did this every time it hit a bollard, it would be taken off the market.
The technology is so good and so advanced that if it keeps working every week, you seldom have stories.
Scotty, I can't change the laws of physics.
The energy is being fed by the ship's internal power grid, and we can't even get near that.
It's one of the Star Trek inventions is that, you know, you've got the engineer who's going to fix everything, and Scotty's going to get that power at the last minute, and Geordi's going to come up with the techno whiz-bang solution. And it's just, that's one of the things that is Star Trek.
Wait a minute. Doctor, I've got an idea.
I just came up with it, but I think it might work.
It'll take time, but it's possible.
God, it's so simple, it might even work.
Why is it to solve almost any problem in Star Trek The Next Generation, all you have to do is remodulate the harmonic frequency of the shields on a rotating modularity?
It's pre-computer, isn't it, the original show? Which is so we haven't got all the computer stuff, because now you would just switch the ship on and off again now. Everyone knows that's what you do with the computer when it doesn't work. So now it would just, all Scotty's job would be, what's happened with the ship, I don't know. Switch it on and off again.
They actually had a situation in one of the scripts on Next Generation, probably midway through, where all they had to do was reboot, because what they did is they shut down the Enterprise, and they turned the whole thing off, and then 2 minutes later they started it up again. And it really caters to the kind of the Bill Gates technology crowd.
A huge thing would come up on that screen saying the Starship Enterprise was not properly shut down. There may be 1 or 2 errors. Please consult manual.
In the 1990s, Star Trek Voyager included the latest ideas on neural computing and a doctor who was a hologram.
Computer, activate the emergency medical holographic system.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
Fun though these were, this was just tinkering around the edges. The truth was, science in the 24th century had become routine. So the makers of Star Trek have made their boldest move yet. The new series, the 5th, due to start in America later this month, is set in the years before Kirk and Spock, at the dawn of warp technology. Step up, Enterprise, the latest Star Trek series, but the earliest Star Trek ship.
While you may not share our enthusiasm about this mission, I expect you to follow our rules. What's said in this room and out on that bridge is privileged information. I don't want every word I say being picked apart the next day by the Vulcan High Command.
My reason for being here is not espionage. My superiors simply asked me to assist you.
Your superiors don't think we can flush a toilet without one of you to assist us.
The crew will not have a lot of the protocols and technology that they need to even do something as simple as visiting an alien ship. Picard and Janeway would just waltz aboard an alien ship or waltz down to an alien world wearing their spandex suits as if nothing was out of the ordinary. We're going to have to wear spacesuits. We're going to have to go through strange decompression chambers to get aboard alien ships. We're going to have to really struggle to make the kinds of discoveries that the other crew made. So everything will have a slightly different feeling to it.
The transporter is a brand new technology. It's experimental. It's only been certified for transporting cargo, not people.
We have torpedoes, but not photon torpedoes. We don't have food replicators. All these things we are going to see in their infant stages being developed.
Star Trek Science has helped make this the most popular program in television history. So no wonder then that for some viewers, science fiction has become science infatuation.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 2 hours 55 minutes, and the STS-47 astronauts have just emerged from their suit-up room in the astronaut quarters. Mission Specialist Mae Jemison picking up the rear.
Mae Carol Jemison became first a scientist and then an astronaut because of her love for Star Trek. Seeing Nichelle Nichols on the bridge of the Enterprise really inspired her. And so we brought Mae in to be a transporter officer in a scene.
Phase distortion is dropping. The next transport window opens in 42 seconds.
How long will we have, Lieutenant?
36 minutes, sir.
Solid rocket ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of Endeavour on America's 50th space shuttle flight.
But for many, Star Trek has been too successful. How can NASA hope to compete with Starfleet?
I think Star Trek is a blessing and a curse to the space program. I think it has inspired a lot of people to want to go into science and to become astronauts, and really given a people a sense of what if, and oh God, I want to do that, and wouldn't it be great if we as a people and a planet went out into space. But I think it also raised such an expectation of what space travel is, that the reality of the space shuttle, which is like a glorified truck that goes into orbit and delivers things, comes back to Earth, you know, the sort of step-by-step process once you had landed on the moon, I think it let people down because they wanted Star Trek.
Star Trek fills the void in the imagination that has been left by the fact that the space program essentially stopped at the moon, and it's going to be some years, in all probability, before we go forward either back to the moon or onto Mars. At some level, I think Star Trek speaks to the way people would like the universe to be, the way we would like to see humanity evolve. Who wouldn't love to get aboard a starship and go off exploring other worlds and seeing these astonishing vistas and meeting these strange alien creatures? It's a little sad to recognize that the reality may fall far short of that. But on the other hand, nature has a way of surprising us, and there are probably things that we cannot even imagine that are more astonishing than anything that we've ever seen on Star Trek or any other science fiction.
But before we get back to the main event, there's time to catch your breath with another brief Star Trek sidebar. For those of you who want to live the dream, then the final front room is just for you. You've got an empty flat, you've got time on your hands, and Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen just does nothing for you. So what do? You ask a man who can. I give you Tony Allen and his Star Trek apartment.
Welcome to the 24th century.
Well, this is my apartment in Hinckley, although you could call it a spaceship. It's loosely based on various aspects of Star Trek and what was happening in the background. The background as designed by Michael Okuda from the Next Generation onwards. I'm 2.5 years in designing this apartment. I mean, we watch Star Trek and we're taken in by Star Trek, and it's a kind of escapism. But I mean, bearing in mind that it is a television program and the props are all made by somebody. And I think the challenge to make something, a facsimile of what is seen every week on television, was too great for me. I had to do it. And I had to make it full size as well, and it got more complicated as I went along. Well, it all started when I made this console. It was a bit of a challenge. the transporter room is the focal point of the Starship Enterprise. And I thought, well, that's the thing I'll try and make. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people must like that kind of style because a lot of people watch it, and I know they watch it for some form of escapism, but I believe that what goes on in the background is also very important as well. And I remember seeing Infinity Mirror in a Star Trek movie. I remembered Leonard Nimoy being sat in an area, and behind him was some Infinity Mirror. And I thought, well, I'll take it to the next level and actually make a big one. So I've made this one above my head, which is 1 metre square. In actual fact, it consists of 2 mirrors, and it gives you the feeling that you're looking out into space. So I put lighting in the floor here, which is reflected in the Infinity Mirror, and when you actually stand on this light on the glass floor with the lighting underneath, you feel as if you're suspended in kind of space sort of thing. With lighting like this, again, it's micro lights, bit of plexiglass, bit of imagination, and it doesn't really do anything. It just gives some nice mood lighting. You can see people sat in the front room and they've got this big white light in the middle of the room and they're all sat there watching television sort of thing. And to me, the room's lost its feeling or mood, or whatever decorations they've done in the room, it's lost it with this big white light. I saw this Borg that was put into the brig, and their brig was mainly made up of white lights, I dare say, because of television. It had to look quite foreboding. But I couldn't do with the white lights, so I made a similar brig, but only with the blue lighting and more friendly, with a force field. And it's supposed to give you the feeling that if you were to cross that brig with the force field engaged, then you would be annihilated if you were a bad person. I haven't been annihilated because I know how the controls work. I find, and this is no disrespect to any of the DIY programs, that they tend to pull, and very well, they pull on established ideas, established themes, Moroccan or Italian or Egyptian, and they're very good at it. I'm not going to say that I think there's a market. I think there are people who would like to live in this environment. There'd be a lot of people who would like to live in a place like this.
It is same as the last one. Cheers, player.
Oi! Come here! Stop! What you got there, eh? Sort of what is that, eh? Eh? Here, no, I don't know. What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, my livelihood! Suppose you think this is funny?
There's a time and a place for comedy. Save it for Mondays! Comedy, tomorrow night from 9 on BBC Two.
Are you ready for the return of the Six Nations? Ireland have played to.
And it's hat-trick Henderson here in Rome.
1-2.
Oh my word, are we upset?
Now can they repeat last year's fabulous win over the Scots?
Astonishing performance by Ireland.
Scotland v Ireland on Grandstand, Saturday at 1 on BBC One.
You have seconds to take out this German gun position. Who would you want at your side?
Yes, I'm still here, and I know you've been on the edge of your sofas in tense anticipation of which episode will win the Captain's Choice viewers' vote. Well, it's now the time to put you out of your misery. Yes, you the viewers have voted, and we at Star Trek Night hereby screen your favourite of the Captain's favourite. The winning episode is Counterpoint from Star Trek Voyager.
The divorce ships are assuming a tactical formation.
This Monday, take a brand new look At the familiar.
Belfast stretches out behind me like a huge jigsaw of streets and houses.
The street directory of Belfast reads like a history book.
Situated at the mouth of the Lagan Valley, it's a dramatic location for a city.
Sky High with Christine Blakely.
Sprawling out between the hills that lie to the east and the west.
Monday at 10:35 on BBC One.
Revealing the real Sherlock Holmes.
If a spirit comes, do not be alarmed.
Unreal forces.
Doyle, is there something wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Real danger.
Be careful.
I beg you to be strong. And keep your wits about you.
In the crime drama where nothing is what it seems. Murder Rooms. The Dark Beginnings of Sherlock Holmes. A New Case. Tuesday at 8:30 on BBC One.
Our mission, to voyage deep into the abyss, where no one has been before. So we can introduce you to a new creature. The hairy angler, discovered by our crew. The Blue Planet, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock on BBC One. Until now, we've only touched the surface.
Live long and prosper with BBC Two.
The time has almost come for me to hang up my tribbles and toddle up the wooden hill to Bedfordshire, but don't despair. The final curtain is not yet ready to descend. Make yourselves comfortable, be prepared to shed a few tears over your popcorn and settle in for tonight's feature presentation. Star Trek, The Voyage Home, and in my humble opinion, the best performance from seafaring mammals ever. Well, that's just about it for tonight. Hopefully, Star Trek will last for another 35 years, and I, for one, will be watching. And for those of you who lasted the course, congratulations. Now, just for you, a little something extra as a special gift from me. Thanks for watching, and good night.
Welcome to the mess hall. Would you like me to show you around?
My physiology has reasserted the need to process solid nutrients. The doctor has prepared a list of dietary requirements. You will provide them for me.
Let's see what we have here. Hippias claw. This is heart of Targ. This, of course, is Gog.
Gog?
Yes, serpent worms. Would you like some? What
the devil is this?
Green leaves?
Dietary salad, sir. Dr. McCoy ordered your diet card changed. I thought you knew.
Your weight was up a couple of pounds, remember?
Try some caviar.
The order is not palatable. What is it?
The unhatched eggs of a large scaleless...
Later, Data.
Lad, you're going to need something to wash that down with. Have you ever tried any Saurian brandy?
This sauce tastes very familiar.
Well, it should. It's puree of tube grubs.
More spiders.
Oh, no, thank you. 3's my limit.
You have more?
Not of this.
I don't see how you can eat that stuff. It tastes like liquid polymer.
Delicious.
I found this in Ganarum. Ganamir.
It's called a banana split. And it's quite possibly one of the greatest things in the universe. Here, try some.
Well, I was saving you for...
What?
Never mind. Here's your glass.
very interesting. But I feel rather strange.
You'll have heard what they say about sailors and girls and ports. Well, Starfleet is no exception.
Don't you remember? The science lab Christmas party?
Yes, I remember.
You dropped
Yes,
in?
yes, I remember.
Hi, Quark. How are your lobes?
Tingling at the sight of you.
What a shame you're not real.
We are real, my lord.
Oh, I mean, real girls.
We are programmed to function as human females, Lord.
You are?
Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady? Or ask me if I've ever been in love? Tell me how your planet Vulcan looks on a lazy evening when the moon is full.
Vulcan has no moon, Miss Uhura.
I'm not surprised, Mr. Spock.
I think you've mistaken me for someone else.
Welcome to Ryson.
A simple handshake would have sufficed.
You are warned, Captain, never to touch me again.
If I touch you again, your glory, it'll be to administer an ancient Earth custom called a spanking.
I will not be soiled by any contact with you.
Very well, I'll send in Mr. Spock.
Spock. Yes, Captain. What did you want?
Where are you?
I don't believe I want to tell you.
Report to me immediately. Spock.
Now, are we going to have dinner together or not?
And if we do, then what?
I don't know. Maybe we could go dancing.
And after that, I suppose you'll expect me to kiss you.
Well, it's possible.
Well, then who needs dinner? Why don't I just get it over with and kiss you right now?
Well, why don't you?
Is there some significance to this action?
Well, among humans, it's meant to express warmth and love.
Oh, you are trying to seduce me.
It's not my function to seduce or be seduced by the leader of another world.
It's not there either.
No, it's not. But will you still respect me in the morning?
I hope so. If we begin, we must stay bonded for 6 days.
6 days?
I could be happy to have that feeling for a week, a month, a year.
No, I love you. I don't know why, but I love you. I do love you. Just as you are.
Worlds may change, galaxies disintegrate, but a woman always remains a woman.